Hello, and welcome to Life in the Driver's Seat Live. Today we are going to be talking about energy or battery chargers versus energy battery drainers. Specifically, energy drainers and how to minimize the effect that they have on your life. My name is 𝗗𝗲𝗄. I'm a certified life coach and founder of a program and a podcast called Life in the Driver's Seat, which is all about empowering you to get into the driver's seat of your life so you can feel better, you can get more enjoyment out of your life, and you can intentionally create the life that you really desire. So let's get into today's topic. So like I said, we're going to talk about energy or battery drainers. And I was going to talk about chargers as well, but as I was writing this show, as I was writing my notes down, there was like so much gold in just this part, like just talking about the drainers, that I thought I would split it up into two. So next week on the show, we are going to talk about battery chargers. Okay. So today we're specifically going to focus on battery drainers. Okay. So there are things in your life that either drain you, they drain your battery, or they charge your battery. So if you've ever listened to like my work, I like to have people picture their life as a car. Okay, so just like a car has a battery that needs to be charged, right, to keep it going, the same goes for you. The same goes for us. So if we are draining our battery, right, like we're constantly draining our battery, just like a car, it's going to not be able to go anymore, right? We're going to feel just depleted emotionally, depleted physically, you name it. Like we're not going to be able to experience life like we really want to experience it, okay? It really affects our quality of life. And when we don't feel good, we aren't able to experience our life the way that we want to experience it. And we're not able to like create the results that we want to create. Okay. So I was just out with someone and they were telling me about someone that they really thought would be perfect for like what I do. And they were saying, like, I just keep telling them, you've got to like push through and you've got to, get up and do better. And I said to them, like, it's very hard to tell someone, hey, you just got to push through and you just got to get up and work hard and, create results in your life and do better when they don't feel well. Like when we don't feel good, it's very hard for us to then get up and start creating a better life for ourselves. So that's the power of feeling good. When we feel good, we're able to not only get enjoyment out of our life, right? That's like what it's all about, but we're able to, our feelings drive our actions. Okay. So that's why I want to talk about this today, is because it's so important to feel good. Like when we feel good or when we're not feeling good, that's when our relationships are going to struggle. That's when it's going to be hard for us to, create better habits and change our health. That's when it's going to be harder to, make more money and create abundance in our life. Like it all comes down to first feeling good. So, when we become intentional about minimizing or eliminating like the drainers in our life, I call them the battery drainers. That's when, so that's what we're going to talk about today. And like I said, it's twofold. So I want you to think of the result as twofold. One, it's going to help you feel better and get more enjoyment out of your life. But then the second thing it's going to do, it's feeling better is going to allow you to take action to create better results. That's when we experience better relationships. We experience better health. We experience, better results. Okay. So the first tip I want to give you guys today, it all starts with first identifying what in your life is draining your battery. Like what are the battery drainers in your life? And I like to think of these, I split these for the show, I split these into 3 categories, but you might not... Yeah, battery drainers. Yeah, that's my term, battery drainers. Our life's like a car, like we're either draining it or charging our battery. So for this show, I split these into 3 categories to kind of give you guys a starting place to brainstorm. So I like to think of, when I think of battery drainers, it can be activities in our life, like things that we have to do, the things that we're doing on an everyday basis or a weekly basis. And the second category is people. There's people in our life who drain our battery. And then the third thing is like outside sources. And I'm going to give you guys examples of these in just a second here. So first, I want to talk about activities. So I want you to ask yourself, like, what are the activities in your life that drain your battery? Okay. Like for me, it's definitely like paying the bills or doing like the business paperwork. Okay. Like I don't like paying the bills. That I wake up and I'm like, oh, like I feel it drains my energy. It just drains my battery. Okay. So what is it for you? It could be like cleaning the house. It could be paying the bills. It could be cleaning the house. It could be cooking. I don't love to cook either. I'm making myself sound like such a wimp, but okay, cooking. It could be grocery shopping. Ugh. It could be things you're saying yes to. Okay, even if they seem like fun, like it's like a book club or it's like a sport, that you said yes to that you're playing, once a week. Or maybe it's like babysitting or like nannying or whatever it is, like the things that you're saying yes to. Okay, I want you to think of all the activities in your life that are draining your battery. So I want you to get out a piece of paper and just write down battery drainers and write down all the activities that come to your mind of the things that drain you. The second category is people. And this can be a tough one for a lot of people, okay? Because they don't like to, it's very hard, right? Like we're people pleasers. We don't want to, sometimes it's hard for people to admit that other people are battery drainers in their life. But we can all think of people in our life that drain our battery. Like just me saying that, you're probably like, someone came to your mind. You're like, oh, battery drainer. And maybe it's this person is like negative. Maybe they're just like full of negativity. So they're always like focused on like what's bad and they're talking about what's bad. Or maybe they are like gossiping all the time. Like they're talking about people all the time. They're gossiping. Or maybe they're always like in crisis, like they're always like needing something. They're not taking like responsibility for themselves and their lives. They're always like needing something. Or maybe, maybe it's habits. I know for me, this is a huge thing. Maybe they're like, their habits are different than what you want to incorporate into your life, right? Like you're trying to be, make different choices or like stay away from, and maybe there's some people in your life whose like habits don't align with like what you see in your life, right? So that's like drains you. Maybe it's like, maybe they criticize you. Maybe they put you down. They like, maybe they just make you feel bad about yourself. Like whatever it is, I just want you to think about the battery drainers in your life. Like the people, when you like hang out with them, when you leave, you just feel like icky. Like that's how I think of it. I'm like, when I leave, I just feel like, ugh, like I feel like icky inside. Those are going to be your battery drainers. And then the third category I want to talk about is outside sources. So outside sources are things that kind of like come at you from the outside that drain your battery. And so many times we're not intentional about those. There was I don't know if you've probably heard this story before, but it's like an old like folklore, but it's about the man telling his son or his grandson, and he's talking about like, I have two like dogs, right, that live inside of me, like two wolves, two dogs. And one of them is full of like rage and jealousy and bitterness and anger and sadness. And the other one is full of love and light and positivity. And he said they're constantly like just raging inside me. They're fighting inside me. And the little boy says, well, which dog wins? And he said, whichever dog you feed the most. And that's so true in our life. It's like we have these two sides to us as well, right? Like we have all of these influences in our life that bring us down and drain our battery, and they're feeding that bad dog, right? And if we aren't intentional with feeding the good dog, like the negativity and those things just come to us all the time from everywhere. Like we don't have to work on that. We're just bombarded with it on an everyday basis. But we have to be intentional with one, like I said, like minimizing or eliminating the bad, right? The battery drainers. And on the other side of that, being intentional with getting in the positive and the good. Okay. And that's what I'm going to talk about more on next week, is focusing on like charging your battery. But today there's enough work in just thinking about minimizing and eliminating battery drainers. Okay. So outside sources could be like the news. Okay. It could be social media, right? Like we're constantly scrolling social media. We're constantly comparing our life to so-and-so's and their perfect life and their perfect marriage and their health and all of those things, right? Could be television shows. Okay. Like things like television shows. Yes, you're right. We live in a society that seems to focus more on the bad than the good, which is like a perfect point. Like because our brain, right? Like that's what our brain is attracted to. It's attracted to the negative, right? It's like, that's what sells. That's what the news sells. That's what's all around us, because that's what their brain's attracted to. And it's just because your brain is always on the lookout to keep you safe, right? So it's focused on finding like the negative and the frightening things because it's trying to keep you safe, right? But that is what our brain is wired to focus on. So it could be like the news, okay? And again, it's just trying to keep us safe, but it's like, what's going on? I have to know everything that's going on. It could be social media. Like I said, it could be television shows, like things that like television shows that we watch voluntarily, but it's like, they bring us down, right? Like dark things or scary things or depressing things, right? That drain our battery. Or it could be music. I know I have a client right now, and this was one of her things. She said, like, I find myself like putting on music that's like bringing me down. And so we were very intentional. We said, okay, we're going to make an intentional list of what we're not going to listen to. And then we're going to make an intentional list of what you can put on, right? Like these things that make you feel good. So again, it could be news, social media, television shows, music. I want you to identify all of the battery drainers in your life. Okay. So get out a piece of paper, write, what are my battery drainers? And again, just the categories to help you brainstorm. These could be activities that you have to do. These could be people in your life. These could be outside sources. Okay. But write down all of the battery drainers in your life. And then the next step is figuring out how to eliminate or cut out or minimize these things in your life. And again, I'm going to give you a few examples. We're going to go through these. So think of the activities in your life that you listed out. I want you to ask yourself, can I stop doing it? Okay, can I stop doing this activity? Okay, so maybe it's something, and it's yes. Usually there's like no one forcing you to do anything. We're just not intentional with figuring it out, right? Or telling ourselves that it's okay to not do it. We think we have to do everything. We have to do all of these things. And it's funny, people wear that like a badge of honor. They're like, I do this, I do all of this. And it's like, why? Like, you don't have to do that, right? Like, I think it's a badge of honor to figure out what you don't want to do and not do it so that you can be free to do what you love and what does light you up. Okay. So can I stop doing it? And a lot of this comes from like people pleasing too. So a lot of what I work on with my clients is saying no to things. Like, can they stop doing it? Yes, they can. And a lot of that comes down to like people pleasing and being okay with saying I'm not doing these things anymore. Okay. But another thing to think is, can I delegate it? Okay. So maybe it's house cleaning. Maybe you're like, it drains you, but you think like, I have to do it. I have to clean my own house. It's like, no, you don't. The best thing I ever did was get someone to come every 2 weeks and like clean my house. And why is that? Because it's like, one, I'm giving someone else, that's their business. That's their lifeline. I've had the woman who's with me, I've had her since I was pregnant with my kids. Like, I love her. It's like, I'm giving her, that's her business. And it's freeing me up to do what I do, to do my business, to help people this way. Right? So it's like, can I delegate it? Maybe it's cleaning your house. Maybe it's grocery shopping. Can I get an amen for Instacart? I just go on my phone every Sunday and boom, my groceries are on my doorstep. Best thing ever. Like, I'm delegating that. I don't like to grocery shop. I don't like to clean my house, right? The third thing you can ask yourself when it comes to your activities is, can I make these easier in some way? So for me, that's cooking, right? Like, I don't get my enjoyment out of cooking. I am making myself sound terrible. I don't want to clean or cook or grocery. I'm good at other things. I have gifts in other areas, but how can I make it easier? So for me, it's like I do the meal boxes where they send you the recipes and they send you all the groceries, and it's the instructions are right there. Me and my husband cook together. It's fast. It's easy. I don't have to be like creative in that area, and it really works for me. So that's a way I make cooking dinner for my family and still eating healthy. That's a way that I make it easier. So go through all your activities. Can I stop doing it? Can I delegate it? Can I make it easier in some way? Next, we're going to talk about people. Okay, so again, you made a list of the people in your life that are battery drainers. Okay, and I want you to ask yourself again, do I have to have them in my life? And a lot of you are going to be like, I have to. I could never cut anyone out of my life. Yes, you can. And this isn't about being bitter and hateful and like cutting people out of your life. But you know what I know? There are people for everyone. There are people who are like attracted to different people. Like there is someone for everyone. There are friends for everyone. Certain people like different people. It's like, but we think like just because we know this person, we've come into this like habitual like friendship and stuff that we have to keep all these people in our life. Even when they're draining us or their habits don't align with what we want in our life, or, like I said, they gossip and you don't want that in your life, or, they drain your battery. We think we just have to keep these people in our life. No, you don't. You don't have to. And again, that's hard for people. And I have clients who, have a very hard time with that because it doesn't feel like they feel guilty. And so they're keeping these people in our life who are draining them. But it's like, you don't have to do that. So ask yourself, do I have to have this person in my life? Like, spoiler alert, you don't. Second, if this is someone that, say it isn't someone that you just want to, slowly cut off from your life, like how can you minimize your time with them? So maybe it's someone you work with that you can't just cut out of your life. Maybe it's a family member and you're like, well, I can't like not just cut my family member out of my life. How can you minimize your time with them? Okay. So like think about that, make a plan. Okay. Like when they call and ask this, I'm going to say this, right? Or I'm only going to, allot this, amount of time. Like how can you minimize the time you spend with the people who drain your battery? The third thing that's most important in this category is how can I set boundaries? This has been huge with me working with clients. Like if there's an area I see that just is deeply affecting my clients, like in the best way, like just changing their life, it's us setting boundaries in their life. Boundaries with people, boundaries with their time. I have a client right now who came to me and she was just really she was divorced. She got a divorce about a year ago and just really letting her ex-husband just affect her in a deep way. Just from texting her all the time and saying horrible things and attacking her. And I said to her, like, you don't have to let him do that. And it's like, well, he's the father of my kids. It's like, yes, they have kids together. So it's like, what is the boundary here? The boundary is I will communicate with you about the kids only. So we ended up setting boundaries and then through our sessions, we got more and more specific, right? Like as things happened, we got more and more specific. And it was like, if you text this, I will respond with this. And she let him know. Sometimes you let people know, sometimes you don't know you don't let them know what your boundary is. They're for you, not for them. But it's like, hey, if you text this, I'm going to respond with this. And if you say one more thing, you text one more thing, I'm going to block you and you can contact my parents if you need something or like there's an emergency or something, right? And it was like being intentional with a boundary and with exactly what you're going to say and do changed everything for her. Like the way she felt, the way she was able to show up, the way she moved forward in a relationship. She cleared out her house after a year. She went to their house and cleared all of her stuff out, moved forward in a relationship, bought a house with her boyfriend after a year and a half. It's like boundaries will set you free, right? But when we're not intentional, we're just letting these things drain us. Like she was letting her ex drain her emotionally and draining her battery and just not being intentional. And she said the biggest thing you helped, it was like being so specific with what I was going to do. She's like, it changed everything for me. So I want you to ask yourself, like, can I set boundaries? And within my Life in the Driver's Seat program, this is something we have a module on, is exactly how to. There is a specific formula I teach my clients, and then I work with them one-on-one. They get videos in the module, and then we work one-on-one with applying this into their real life, like setting boundaries with the people in their life, setting boundaries with the time, right? So that they can show up to their life, they can feel better and show up to their life in a whole new way. So within the program, I teach you the exact how-to on how to do that. But I want you to ask yourself, like, how can I set boundaries with the people in my life who are draining me? And then lastly, outside sources, like we talked about. So things like, the news and social media, like, can I eliminate it? Okay, I want you to ask yourself, can you eliminate it? Like, for a lot of us, we're not going to be able to eliminate social media, but can I eliminate it? Can I eliminate maybe those TV shows I'm watching that really don't make me feel great, right? They leave me feeling kind of icky, or the music I'm listening to, or the news, right? The news is on. It's like, maybe it's a habit. You turn on the news or you check in, online or whatever. Like, can I eliminate that out of my life? The next thing you can ask yourself, okay, if I can't completely eliminate it, how can I intentionally minimize it and really set parameters around my time? Again, my program and the work I do with my clients is all about being intentional. So many times we're just living life just in the passenger seat, is how I always say it. It's like we're just checking in with the news, social media, like we're not being intentional with the things that we want in our life and don't want in our life. So can we set parameters? Can we say, okay, I'm going to minimize my time on social media. Okay, I'm going to allow myself, in the morning I'll scroll, in the evening I'll scroll, or like whatever it is. I'll get 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. I'm going to set a timer on my phone, whatever it is. I've helped clients be intentional with their phone time. Like they're like, yeah, I feel guilty that my, this time's going to my phone when I'm with my kids. And we're like, okay, we're going to set some parameters around that. Okay. So again, can I minimize my time? Can I intentionally set parameters around that? And I remember I had a lady, who used to always send me just articles. She would always send me articles on what's going on in the world and stuff. And she's like, are you reading all this stuff? And I said, you know what? I was like, I appreciate you keeping me in mind. I said, but actually, I don't like to keep up on all that stuff. And she looked at me and said, well, you can't live with your head in the sand. And I was like, yeah, I can. I do, and I can, and I love it, and I'm better for it. And it allows me to show up and put my energy and attention into the people that are around me and to you guys and to the work that I love. And that's just that's how I want to live my life. And here's what I think. I'm like, if something was so important that I had to know it, I guarantee you I will hear it. Especially from my mom. She's really up on all that stuff. I'm like, I'll hear it from someone if there's something that important. But for me, I love living with my head in the sand because again, it allows me to keep my battery full. I don't want to fill my life and fill my head and soak all my energy into that. That's not for me. So yeah, I absolutely will live with my head in the sand. And it's so good for me because I've set parameters around that. Okay. So let me go on here to summarize. Sorry, and I'm getting so many phone calls. Okay, so to summarize what we talked about today, first we talked about why it's so important to minimize the battery drainers in our life, okay? Because again, it's twofold. It allows you to feel better and get more enjoyment out of your life, which is really what we all want. We think we want all of these different things and results, but really it's because we want to feel better. We want to feel good. And by eliminating the things that are draining our energy and draining our battery, it's going to allow us to feel better and get more enjoyment out of our life. And like I said, next week, I'm going to talk about battery chargers, about now we focusing on battery chargers and getting more of that into our life. And then the second thing it helps with is, again, when we feel better, then we are able to go get the results that we want. Because the way we feel, our feelings always drive our actions, Remember, if you know my work, our thoughts create our feelings, how we feel, and then our feelings drive our action. So that is when we feel better, when we're not draining our battery and we're charging our battery, then we're able to take the action and have the better relationships and have the better life and experience the life that we want, right? Improve our health, take different action, create more abundance, create more money, whatever it is, even if it's just to your emotional well-being, but we're able to do that. Okay. And then the second thing we talked about is step one was just identifying the battery drainers or the energy drainers in your life. And then the third thing I'm talking about is to make a plan to intentionally minimize or eliminate your battery drainers. And then again, next week, we're going to get into battery chargers, how to charge your battery. But the first step that's so important is eliminating the drainers. And if you need help in this, again, this is the work I do with my clients inside my Life in the Driver's Seat program. And it's all about being intentional and setting your life up in a way that feels good, where you get enjoyment out of your life and get clarity on what you want your life to look like and set it up. And we create that intentionally. Again, it's all about being intentional. So many of us are just living life, just letting life happen to us without being intentional. And we don't realize the difference that will make to set our life up in an intentional way, saying, this is what I don't want. This is what I want. I'm going to set my life up intentionally. Okay. And that is what I do with my clients. And I work with clients deeply, like I said, on people pleasing, on setting boundaries, on being intentional with their time and their energy and their emotions. And sorry, I'm trying to read all my comments here. But if you want more work, to go deeper on this work, I want to invite you to an absolutely free breakthrough call. It's an hour call where I want to hear all about you. Like, what's going on in your life? What are you currently experiencing? What would you rather be experiencing? Like, what do you want to be experiencing instead? And then we can set up a clear plan to get you there. And I would love to hear all about you. So you can book your free call at jacquelineemery.com/consult. Every time I say consult, it sounds like it has an S on it. It's just consult. So go to jacquelineemery.com/consult so I can hear all about you. And then, like I said, join me next week, same time, 12 o'clock right here in our group. And we are going to talk about battery chargers, and you do not want to miss it. All right. I love you guys, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.